YouTube. YouTube. I'm not even going to bother with an intro for this game. Let's just get right into it. This is a Dark Souls 1 boss tier list. You can see the tiers. I will not comment on them until we place them in their tiers. So, Aiden, kick us off.
Starting off with a hot stinker, Bed of Chaos. I mean, what words can I even describe? It's torture. It's actually torture playing this boss and not knowing the speed run or the cheese strats like I did, not doing those. I literally spent 90% of the time running back, and the run back was the fun part about this boss fight. The run back was
good.
the best part.
I like that. Was that scripted? That was good. I like
that. Was not scripted. Off the whatever,
Anything else on your mind about this guy?
Oh my god, so much. The fact that they made a platforming boss for literally the worst mechanics in a video game that I have ever seen recently, it blows my mind. And if you if you don't have Havel's armor on, you're getting knocked off the cliff every single time. Every single time. The only reason I beat this boss is because I threw on Havel's armor, heaviest armor, didn't even roll, just tanked the hits and got staggered. Oh my god. And it's not even like once you get up to the backside of him, it's like an interesting fight. No, you're just beating on a helpless fucking woman. It literally zero satisfaction is in this boss fight. Take it away. Take it away. I don't even want to fucking look at this boss, dude.
So, as you said, all of those things.
It's an Alt F4. I mean, you should honestly just make a fucking boss tier for this.
I'm gonna take this from someone, but I'm gonna let this play out, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
On this first phase, you might just want Alt F4 or whatever you do on console.
Just let it play out.
I don't know.
Courtesy of this guy.
Phase 1 done. You're 33% of the way there. You've achieved this amazing cutscene, and you're like, oh, did I beat the boss? No. We're gonna get there, trust me. Once you do this, we're gonna employ a next level strategy. We're gonna save quit.
So, if it weren't for this video, if I didn't look up a guide, and if I didn't play Dark Souls Remastered with the warping mods and all those things, all the quality of life improvements, it's easily the worst boss ever designed, ever created, like ever, right? The only good things about this boss are the area that it's in, and that's not like the actual arena.
I wouldn't even say that because the area fucks you up.
I'm talking Demon Ruins, just like the aesthetic of it.
Oh,
the view of it, like the run back, even though the run back's super long and boring, it's like that whole Demon Ruins, Lost Izalith area is a very cool concept. Outside of that, music, worthless. The boss, uninspired. All the boss does is sit there and wait for you to break his branches. The run back takes 5 legit minutes. There's several hiccups along the way that try and fuck you over. And if it weren't for save quitting between each phase, if it weren't for all those quality of life changes, this boss would be the worst boss ever designed. It's an Alt F4 for me. I would honestly put it a little higher just because it only took me like 3 or 4 tries once I looked up the guide, and I thought the way that they presented the guy was hilarious. Like the whole, we're gonna try.
Literally, the only reason that I even continued with this boss after the first hour of playing it was out of respect for what they did with the following games. I mean,
I think this is a good boss to start off with, being arguably the worst in the entire game and series, because it is what Dark Souls 1 is to me. And that is the lowest lows, the biggest filth ever fucking realized, and it makes me appreciate everything else. Everything else. Playing this boss makes you appreciate every run back, every mechanical challenge, every soundtrack and design, and he is one that makes you appreciate everything. So
trust me, I'm not going to complain about buffered rolls in Elden Ring either. Holy fuck, it is.
So, Asylum Demon, I would say
mid,
not ass.
I'd say mid. I'd say a solid A or B tier.
Yeah, to me, not ass is like mid in this game, and that's being generous with the wording. I think that he's mechanically inept. You could say he's got like 2 or 3 moves.
Yeah, he's got 3.
The only time you're actually gonna die is the very first time when you drop down, you take damage, and you don't realize he's gonna hit you, and maybe like you're half health from the fall damage, and then he does a massive swing. That's the only time you should die. This guy, his moves are so animated and wound up that like it takes 10 seconds before it goes off, and you always have a brief period to like get in there. And also, if you try like to do a fist only, that could be tough too, just because it's tedious and it takes a long time. But realistically, his actual skill cap, the way that you have to, I guess, bring yourself up to beat him, is very limited. It's super quick and easy, in my opinion. Also, not too memorable of a. He's a big beastly design, so it's kind of cool, but they rehashed that, and it's not the coolest beast.
Dude, I forgot who I was fucking watching, but someone said that this was the best first boss in a Souls game ever, including Elden Ring. And that statement just blew my mind. This guy literally has 3 moves. He has the butt slam, he has the short swipe, and the long swipe. 3 fucking moves, and you're saying this is the best intro boss.
Design-wise, I think it's a good fit where you have the option to face him immediately with fists and a broken sword that do nothing, or you can run around and come back and deal with him quickly. But everything else outside of that, the actual function of the boss, the experience of the boss is not that memorable. I think that it's not too offensive and it's not too difficult for a first-time player, so maybe that's where they're coming from. But that doesn't matter to me, being a vet, the kind of person I am.
That's what they were saying. They were saying it was so difficult that it was a good intro, and
I just say he's not offensive enough to go anywhere else. Like, I could put him in pinwheel tier for just having no emotions or no connection to this fight. But I will say, like, when I first got on the game, that's the first boss we faced, so there's something there. But no, I don't have anything to say about him. Stray Demon.
Literally the same exact boss in the same exact room. You just drop down another floor.
I'd say rehash. He has fire aspect and he does a little bit more
It's
damage.
not even a rehash. It is literally the same exact thing.
Well, he just put it right back on the grill and cooked it a little bit more is what I'm saying. And I mean, I would probably put it above it just because it has fire. It's got a little cooler of a design. No, because that's Fire Sage. So I would probably put it like either ass or not ass. It's lower than Asylum Demon just because they reuse it. But he does have a little bit more of a challenge. And let's go ahead and knock out the third one while we're here.
Yeah, he's going in the exact same tier for me. Yes, he right in between both of them. Yes, he has flames. Congratulations. He still has the same 3 moves. It's still the same boss, just on fire.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that puts him above him is that he has a cooler
I would say the first one is even above that because it's the first time you're actually experiencing the boss. It's something new.
Yeah,
when I got to this guy, I was like, oh. It's the same
I guess that's
thing.
true. The only thing that puts him above Stray Demon is that he has fire, and we faced him before Stray Demon, so a lot of people face it in the other order, and you think Demon Fire Stage is the third ripoff, but it's whatever. Doesn't matter.
Only the second. Gaping Dragon, A+. The design literally carries everything about this boss. The arena is really cool. The cutscene is really cool. The design of the boss is extremely unique and cool. The mechanics suck ass. Everything else sucks ass.
Iron Golem? I mean, do I need to explain my placing? Do I need to?
You kind of do. I mean, you fucking...
After struggling on Capper Demon the
shit.
night before, and then the first time I wake up after a session of this game, and I go into Blighttown's intro, and I can't even get through the Blight Town because there's rats coming out of boxes. I'm getting stun locked everywhere I go. It's just a mission to get to this guy, right? And then I finally get to him, and I'm using my daggers, and he's just jumping up and flying away from me and flying away from me. I haven't looked up the bosses on this, and I will do that in a sec. But it's just the fact that, like, he was an Alt F4 moment for me. That's why he would be there, is because I almost Alt F4. That was... several times, remember? Several times I was like...
Yeah, but that's just a skill issue, you know?
It is. Definitely part of it is a skill issue, but... I'm going to bring this back up here. I think his design, pretty interesting. He's got... Like
everything about the visuals in this fight, I think, is really good.
Yeah, like it fits.
especially when comparing to the rest of Dark Souls.
It's like it's all in the sewers. It's this weird ass alligator rat dragon without the ability to really fly. So it goes for the tone and what it's trying to do, but it's still not like a very appealing area to fight in. It's another giant boss where you're just whacking his arms and his tail. I do like the fact that you can cut his tail off and get a weapon, but that's not exclusive to him, so you can't give him that. And I just hate the fight. Like, it's super boring. You gotta avoid his charge attack. He just will stomp on you if he does. He's always flying up in the air to get away. He's not too intense or challenging, and the only thing that made him intense is my lack of patience because I was using daggers, so that doesn't make him a hard fight. Just
Yeah, I kind of just one-shot him.
I'm putting him all to F4 because he was one of those that Saturday day where kept saying, "Do we play Elden
Yeah,
Ring?
but
Do
I
we
think
go
that
for a
was
quick
mainly
playthrough?"
due to the Capra Demon run back, not the actual boss itself.
Was it because I went through all of that Blighttown sewers having to get to this guy and locate him?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he was a terrible experience overall. He was like actually terrible. Objectively, maybe he's not that bad, but as in a first time experience, no matter how good or bad he was as a boss fight, everything outside of his mechanics and all that was terrible. I'm canceling
Well,
here.
we can agree on the next one. Iron
Yeah.
Golem, I'd say a solid A plus as well. Yes,
Yeah,
the visuals aren't as good for him comparing to Gaping Dragon, but I still like the visuals. The arena is really cool, and all of his moves are
go on. Just the way I looked up Iron Golem, it pulled up Minecraft.
pretty cool. And the air move is actually pretty sick. And the fact that you can like just run between his legs and knock him down, it doesn't make him annoying as fuck like everything else in this game. This is the one boss where I felt like they actually designed it well and didn't design it around just wasting your fucking time.
I'll have to think about it, but to me, this was like the first breath of fresh air boss fight
It really
where
was.
like I truly wasn't tormented by every single experience and
Capra Demon. Did we fight Capra Demon before this guy?
yeah, but Caberdine is a whole nother
Yeah,
story. I would just
for
say
you.
I would just say for me, he's probably S tier. And again, Gaping Dragon and Alt F4, him and S, it's so controversial. I understand that. I understand that. But you had to go through you had to walk in my shoes to understand why these are in these places.
But how about you walk in someone else's
Like,
shoes as well?
this isn't objective. This is subjective. And to me, I loved it because since Fortress was such a well designed fortress, even though it was tough to get through, if we had just looked up a guide, we probably could have gotten through it in 3 minutes. But
Yeah.
the hour to 2 hour experience of just getting up to the fort, seeing there's even more there, and just how it all connected with the bowling balls and everything else, it was very fascinating to like get that realization, find the secret bonfire, and then going up to him. I just loved his design. He's like this giant
Yep.
iron golem. He's similar to Tower Knight and Demon Souls that we'll play soon, and I just loved like using daggers. He didn't take a lot of damage, but like it felt like the fight was pretty fair. He would do massive damage. He could grab you, and his grab hitbox was pretty whack at times, but overall it wasn't
The
bad.
grab never one-shot you though, which is pretty nice.
He's a
And
giant. Like his design is giant, and well, I just love his design, and just sort of like what's his name in Dark Souls 3, Yorm. He's like Yorm the Giant, but I love that he
not
has
on that
like
scale
yeah,
though.
he's not on that scale or that polish, but he has like that projectile attack to start. You can stagger his ankles and his legs, and you can cheese him and knock him off the balcony if you want, which is pretty funny. And I think it was a pretty good story of what this boss fight is, and that's just like a funny boss fight where like everything about it is pretty hilarious.
It's just enjoyable. I agree.
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air. I'd put him
Great
as
Grey Wolf.
he's whatever. Grey Wolf. I would say not S or S as well.
I'd say top of A plus.
I'm gonna add a tier actually. I need to.
I fucking told you.
Just one though. Just one tier. And it's gonna go.
I'm adding all the tiers like normal just to see where the skew is. I already know where it's gonna be.
I think this is more fitting. I don't think S is deserving for both of these, but I do love Great Grey Wolf's lore, how he kind of ties into Artorias and he's carrying his greatsword at the start of the
Yep.
fight. I love his arena too. I think he's got a
His
great
arena's
arena.
really cool. The
The run,
background to the arena's really cool.
the
The
issue with
giant
him,
sword in the middle of it. The run back is insane.
yeah, he's got
Oh
a
my
very
god.
tough run back, but that's not necessarily again exclusive to this guy. Almost all the bosses have agonizing runbacks, but his is one of the more boring ones. There's just not. It's just very quiet and not a lot going on.
Yep.
His
But the
moveset,
fight is really good.
yeah, the
It's
fight's one of
kind
the
of
better
just a,
fights in the base game. I think that it's also interesting that like it's a mini boss and not a mini boss, but an optional boss. It's pretty hidden,
yeah.
and yeah, the only thing I'll say that makes him a little lower is that we did fight this wolf version in Dark Souls 3, but I think this was way better done because it wasn't a dual boss fight with the Grave Tinder, and
Yep.
I just love the great sword, the way that it swings around and it's glowing. He's got a couple of interesting kind of interactions where he does the hop step or he goes for like a triple hit combo, and he's a decent challenge, but he's not overwhelming. I
Yep.
would put him as like a nice solid A plus as a boss. He's
Yeah,
like
I'd
top
throw him
of
an A plus as well.
He's top of A, but it would be A plus if I had one.
Four Kings. Mid. B.
Not
I yeah, I'd throw him in B.
I'd throw him in top,
Honestly,
not
like
S.
the only aspect to this is, do you do enough damage? That's it. Do you do enough damage? If the answer is yes, you're beating them. If the answer is no, you're not.
The story about so many of these boss fights is it's not the actual boss itself. It's not the mechanics. It's not the interactions, the
Oh,
animations.
it is the mechanics.
It's the what makes or break it is everything else outside of it. I think New Anne Orlando or the New Londo Ruins is a very cool area, especially when you can discover it so early on. The Abyss is such an awesome aspect, the way that it's like pitch black and you drop down this hole and you have to have a specific item to get to it. The run back's not super bad, but it was tough to figure out at the beginning. And as far as the boss fight goes, though, pretty uninspired on the designs. They have the same move sets, all four of them, and they're pretty much the same, like 3 or 4 attacks.
I mean, it's just dudes with pokey bodies and pokey swords.
It's like it's a boss that should have lived up to more hype, and it kind of fell flat, which is what makes it more offensive to me. But it's just similar to Beta Chaos, where a lot of people I mean, not necessarily with the Four Kings, but I don't hate it as much as I probably should because of the aspect that you throw on Havel full set and you just kind of trade blows and laugh at him, and it's just like you absorb sponge damage. If that wasn't a thing and I kept having to fight him straight up, it might have taken me longer and I might not have liked him as much. But it was pretty funny with that interaction of being just an absolute rock on the map.
It was just super one-dimensional, and the fact that this is one of the 4 big bosses of the game is kind of just insulting.
Yeah, it is insulting that they build them up and you've got this abyss to go down, and then it's just kind of like 4 basic bitch enemies that all you have to do is out damage them.
Yep.
It is a little lackluster.
Yeah. Bell Gargoyles, we're throwing this in hot dog shit.
Oh man, we disagree again on that. Gotta disagree.
D or dog shit?
I love Bell Gargoyles
dog shit.
for like several reasons, and
No, it's going in dog shit.
the first one is that it was a challenge for you, and that's what I loved about it. And I know that's no reason at all to put it anywhere, but god damn it, I will. I loved that I got to beat him first, and I figured all the run back and just how to like manage the 2v1 better. And you had to die over and over again on that run back, which is like a vicious, brutal run back if you're not playing it right. Like it is sort of like Capra Demon, where it is intentionally meant to piss you off. The way that you get staggered in the hallway, and if you don't full sprint or like draw out the knight that's guarding some of the walkways, it's pretty much impossible to get through. It was just so fun for me to watch you agonize over it. And then the actual fight to me, though, was pretty decent. I love the music. I thought the music was well done. It was pretty powerful. The 2v1 felt really good. It was the first time where you cut off the boss's body parts for a weapon. I thought that was pretty innovative for a game. I don't think that's happened before. And so it felt good. You really learned the game in this one, the rolling, dodging, and I just liked finding out the openings and the gaps in the fight. When you first take him on, you want to cut off the tail so he no longer does those attacks. The first phase isn't too bad, and then the second phase, it's all about just kind of avoiding the fire and finding your openings. And it was a decent challenge.
I'll take it from here. I'm actually throwing him in a D tier. First of all, the run back, man. Everything about the run back is literally just meant to piss you off. It was, for me, at least, it was a 30% chance that I even made it to the boss. For this, it was actually like a slightly worse version of Beta Chaos, where 90% of the time you're just doing run backs. When you go up the stairs, there's a guy blocking the entire way. The entire width of the staircase. Once you have to lead him back down, wait for him to do a swing, and then run back up the stairs. Oh, and you're still not home free because there's this dude casting magic spells who resurrects 30 dudes within a room, and the first guy, there's a 50-50 chance he just jumps in front of you and blocks the door. Haha, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna die because there's a dude chasing you from behind and 30 guys in front of you.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
funny
once
how
you
these guides
finally
don't show it.
fucking get to the fucking boss, you cannot heal. On one of these
Okay.
runs, they were on the side next to the fog wall. I ran from that side all the way to the other side, full sprinting, and healed, and still got hit.
But see, it's not
Still
necessarily
got
like
fucking hit.
that's the thing is in this fight, and it just didn't click for you where you couldn't find the right openings, and you just at some point got kind of lucky at points to beat the fight. For me, it's like I figured it out pretty well to where I was consistently getting into the second phase to like 10-20%. And the openings for healing are just different. It's not like you have to run across the map and get a heal. It's like, no, you got to wait for, like, one's going to do a regular physical attack, and then the other's going to blow fire. And you anticipate that one's going to do the physical attack, roll through it, and then right when the one starts spraying fire, you can either punish the fire sprayer or you can heal. There's just like different. That's what I loved about this fight is there's so many ways to like find the openings between healing and giving damage, and it's not just clear cut and dry. Like they're both going to attack, then you're going to follow. It's like no, you just have to pick and choose your moments, and I love that about the fight. It was dumbed down and simplistic compared to like Demon Prince and other 2v1s, but I still thought it was a good 2v1 boss fight.
Yeah, I love that 90% of the boss fight was me just running around in circles. I love that part.
It could be
That
worse.
part was
It
pretty
could be
huge.
worse.
It could.
be worse.
It could. You're right.
So I'm putting it an A because I actually thought it was a decent fight. The run back was pretty tough, but other than that, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Moonlight. I'm not gonna say
90% of my time fighting this boss was in the run back, and 90% of the time of when I actually made it to the boss was running around in circles. The amount of time that I actually enjoyed was probably 1% of my time fighting this boss. The rest was agonizing.
That's not.
So it's a D tier. It's
Moonlight
a D tier.
Butterfly is Pinwheel tier for me.
I mean,
Pinwheel-
actual dog shit. Literally,
Pen-
only second to the Bed of Chaos, and not by much.
Pinwheel tier
The-
to me is like it should be Alt F4, but it didn't make me rage. It's Pinwheel tier as
Well,
in
because
like
you summoned that bitch and she one-shot the butterfly for you. If we didn't know about that, I think this would be right next to Bed of Chaos.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying on my experience and how I view the fight, it's not overly challenging to where it's like an Alt F4 rage moment, but it's just unbelievably boring and a time waste that it like deserves Pinwheel tier.
Literally everything about this boss is a waste of time.
I don't even want to look it up. The music, everyone talks about the music, like Gwen did it better with the piano. If you're gonna go for the somber, like at least don't put me to sleep. This music felt like I was snoozing. It was a snooze
Yep.
fest. I didn't like the run back either. That was also
The run back was actually it wasn't that bad, but it had a lot of fucking enemies who would poke you in the ass.
It was a bad run back. It was. If I hadn't had the summon fight, the daggers just weren't going to do it for me, and I would have had to come back later. I was not going to do that fight with the damage I was outputting. And she does 3 basic moves, so it's not intense whatsoever. And it's just such a time waste. You like literally stare up there and wait for her to get down. It's I can't believe that like we have to pay for that experience. That's a fucking insult. So I'm putting her
they
in
should
Pinwheel.
pay us for that.
I'm putting it in Pinwheel. Just it should be Alt F4, but I just wasn't like breaking controller ready to Alt F4 on it. I just was like, I'm over it.
Yep.
ONS.
Ooh, Ornstein and Smo, I think I'm putting them at the very bottom of SS. And here's my reasoning. I know you're going to disagree with this. I know you're going to put it in S, not in Artorias tier. But the only 2 bosses in this game that I didn't kill when I had the chance were Artorias and this guy, and this boss. And that's because the boss had more to offer and was actually enjoyable to where I actually wanted to do that. And I think both of those deserve SS. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I would probably put them in the same spot. I think bottom. It's like when I put it when I put it in the overall Soulsborne tier list. I don't know if it goes in the SS tier.
It doesn't.
I don't think it does. But in this game, I think it is some of the best of the best. Arguably the best base boss in the game. Gwyn's there to talk about in just a sec, but Onez to me was again just like Iron Golem and Sen's Fortress. Once you hit that period of gameplay where it was Sen's Fortress into Anne Orlando, it was a breath of fresh air. Like finally, it wasn't just 90% misery and pain. It was actually a decent experience, and I love the aesthetic of the kind of cathedral that you fight in. Uh, Fucking Ornstein is a savage. That guy actually just flies around everywhere like a wizard, and I
He
like it. I love him
flies.
for it. I love him for it, but also it's like that guy needs to chill out. It was just like a perfectly balanced boss fight. Sadly, going into it, I thought it was going to be more difficult because that's what people talk about. Like this is the real wall, and I think it maybe is all the other duo boss fights between Godskin Duo and Demon Prince and whatever other demanding ones we
Maybe
had.
we were leveled
But
as well. I
but
don't
it
know.
just even with the Dark Souls 1 ass mechanics and the slowness of it all, it still just felt too easy. It felt like there was too many wide openings and gaps. Not that that's a
Yeah.
bad thing. It was a decent challenge. Like it took us probably 45 minutes or an hour, but yeah, I mean, I love the fight. I love the balance between it all. I think Ornstein's a absolute legend, and the way that you start in the fight and he just kind of flies at you. The music ramps up too. Not the best
Yep.
music in the game, but it's really good music. Also, the fact that they both have like unique kind of phase twos, so it's sort of like Demon Prince, where whichever one you kill, you got to deal with the other one in the second phase. I like that
That is
aspect,
true.
and the power up phases. So I just love it all. I don't think it's as amazing as people set it out to be. Maybe if I started out on this game, it would be, but comparing it to other Soulsborne bosses,
I
it's
mean,
good.
imagine going from the dog shit down below, Moonlight Butterfly, to this. It is,
It's a world's difference, but I'm putting it.
yeah,
I'll put it Artori's tier. It's just bottom of it, for sure.
yeah, very, very bottom of
Like,
SS, creeping on S.
should we separate these? I feel like it's just. I mean, I guess.
I'm putting Gwyn in S.
Well, I
I'm
just
not
mean like
putting.
I just mean the bosses down here.
Oh. Yeah, let's get some dog shit out of the way.
Yeah.
Seath the Scaleless, dog shit tier, absolutely horrendous. This guy literally has you fight him the first try, and you can't even touch him.
That's a
If
good
they
point.
made it to where, if they made
Fuck
it to
you,
where,
dog. Go ahead.
if they made it to where, anyway, if they made it to where you could actually run up to him and hit him and you would do no damage, fine, sure. But you can't even get to him the first try. All you do is sit there running around like a chicken with your fucking head cut off. And I understand that it's to build up this moment where you destroy this crystal and then you can damage him. But if the fight after that was actually enjoyable in the least, it would be fine. It would be fine. But it's not. None of this is actually good. You get your hopes up after fighting him the first time and can't do anything, and you think, oh, I'm actually going to get a boss fight. No, no, you're not. You're just going to get another 30 seconds of you hitting tentacles and dodging ice damage.
Seath the Shitful is a story of all Dark
See
Souls
the
bosses.
bitchlets.
See, he's a story of all these Dark Souls bosses for the most part, where my opinions on it are strictly like outside of the actual fight because there's nothing to talk about in the fight. One, as you said, the first time you face him, it's impossible to kill. Thank God we didn't get cursed, right? If you got cursed, add into that insult to injury, you got to go get a purging stone because half your health bar's gone permanently. So thankfully we didn't have to deal with that. But then you go through the icy lake or whatever it's called, Crystal Lake. I thought that was a pretty cool looking area, but the actual function of it wasn't that interesting. The invisible wall or invisible floor, I think, may have been the first introduction in the series, so props to them for that. But other than that, I didn't think it was that fascinating of a run back. And then the fight itself, like, yeah, he's a giant dragon, scaleless dragon, and he's crystallized, and he's got kind of glimmering blue and purple and whitish sort of shining bits on him. But the actual fight is pretty boring. You kind of run around, avoid the cursed, staggering crystals, and get behind him and just kind of deal with them. It's not that
I mean,
interesting.
all you have to do to explain this fight is just play that clip you just played right there.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say anything. Look at this guy. He's just hugging his fucking armpit and spamming R1 with Havel's armor on. That's this fight. Yep.
Yeah. So I would put it again in Pinwheel, where it's not completely offensive. I didn't take 2 hours on him, but it was.
I didn't take 2 hours, but it was offensive.
It's just a Pinwheel boss fight. I have nothing to say about it. Speaking of Pinwheel, Pinwheel. At the
Dog
top
shit
of Pinwheel.
tier.
At the top of Pinwheel. I understand. Here's the crazy thing. I kept mistaking Pinwheel for Patches. I don't know why, like, that was always in my head, but I thought, like, Pinwheel was Patches in the first game, and then Patches just reoccurs as, like, a weird boss in all the other games. I didn't realize Pinwheel was, like, this weird-ass three-headed sorcerer. And I don't even want to look up the fight, actually. It's
Dude,
just a Pinwheel
the
tier.
run back to this fight with the bone wheel skeletons. Remove those enemies from the game, man.
Yeah,
Those
they fix
enemies
them in the
are
others, but like unnecessary for sure. And the run back it's one of those classic Dark Souls 1 run backs. It's a 50-50. You get RNG'd by the bone wheels or by some other bitch made enemy that fucking one shots you on your way to the boss.
And then you have to do another 5 fucking minutes of running.
I think that the fight is very lackluster. It's so easy. I mean, look, I died, but I also had no flasks and half
You
health when I
died to
dropped in.
Pinwheel.
I was half health, no flasks when I
died
dropped
to
in.
Pinwheel.
I got hit
And
by
you
one
died
second.
to Witches of Hemwick. You have died to every
Yeah.
single easy-ass boss
But-
in all of these.
It's just like it's a mage-like enemy that should be. It's the people in what's that library? The Duke whatever archives.
Duke's Archive.
The actual projectors in that area, the library, were harder than this guy. The fact that he's even a boss is disrespectful to the series and their creativity. I don't know his lore really that much. I don't give a shit. But he's Pinwheel tier. There's a reason why it's created this way. And yeah, I mean, once again, nothing much to say.
Nothing to say there. Let's get Nito out of the way as well. Dog shit tier boss. All of the annoying factors of any other boss you could think of, it's in here. You got toxic tick damage, you got it. You got projectiles that come out of the ground that you can't react to, you got it. You got immortal fucking side bitch skeletons that annoy you and hit you and lock you out of combos, you got it. You got his weapon that also does fucking toxic damage. And the fact that you can't hit him through the cloak and you only have to rub up against his fucking nutsack to actually do damage to him. And follow that up with an uninteresting moveset. Literally just side to side, all the fucking time, man.
I would say, like, I mostly agree, but I still have some rebuttals. I would put him in ass, not like anything lower than that, because he does have significance in the story and the lore. I think his design is pretty interesting, the way that he's like this giant kind of skeletal man that's this caped up lord, and he's at the bottom of these catacombs. So I love all that. The fight itself, it is like very minimal in terms of his moveset, but I think that he does have a couple of other things. Like he's got the ground attacks that come out of you, like we're playing Strangers of Paradise. He's got the Scream, and even though the Scream is an AoE, that's pretty much unavoidable. What I like about this boss fight is it's the tell of a lot of these where if you know how to play it, or at least somewhat know how to play it, it's not as miserable, and it's pretty interesting how they try and make it a good one, where all the skeletons respawn unless you have a divine weapon. But if you get in the corner and never move around, they only respawn like 2 or 3. And also, all of his attacks damage the skeletons. So like his Scream, for instance, it one-shots the skeletons. And if you put on a Crest Shield, you can tank that Scream for minimal damage and just have him one-shot the skeletons, and you can start to work on him one-on-one again. And if he does that in repeat, it's pretty much a done boss fight. Like, yeah, the drop-down constantly giving you damage, the run-back, and the toxic, all those are present, but they're not as like brutal as some other bosses. And I don't think the toxic is the end of the world, honestly, because it just kind of slowly drains your health. It's not like the other toxic in Blighttown where it's like 10% or 5% chunking you. So I don't think he's like nearly as bad, especially when I looked up sort of how to play him. But I wouldn't play him on repeats. Like, he's not a fun boss to really fight. He's fun for like executing how people play him, but then everything else is very weak. I would put him as ass.
I would counter your one point saying that he has a lot of lore significance and he's one of the main 4 bosses. I would say that is a reason for this dog shit of a showing for him to be in dog shit tier. If he has this much lore significance, put 3 more seconds of effort into this boss fight. I swear to God.
Look at it, man. Havel shield bill. Just run him
That is
down.
every fucking cheese for every fucking boss in this entire game, man.
Yeah, I still think he's ass. Like he's not as despicable as some of these others, and I
Oh,
think
he
that
definitely is
he
for
has a
me.
little bit going for him. So I would put him in ass.
I'd say he's top of dog shit.
Let's do Priscilla. I didn't. I again, I keep repeating myself, but it's like everything outside of the boss. I thought that the painted world, the way that they did it, if I didn't play Dark Souls 3, I would think that's a super cool design, how you like interact with this painting and it takes you to this whole new area. The area
Yep.
itself, pretty short, not too bad. There's the bone guys in the bottom where you have to open up the wheel to actually get to the boss. But other than that, it's pretty short to get to her. She disappears on you.
Nah, dude.
She drops
The
the dagger.
enemies in this area are probably not the worst, most annoying because there's a lot of fucking annoying enemies in this game, but it's up there for some of the most annoying enemies.
Why does it always never? That's how you know the bosses aren't iconic or anything, because when you look up their names, there's a million other videos besides it. Again, I don't think she's terrible because one, I one shot her.
And yeah, and she's just the gimmick is she's invisible and you can see her footsteps. And once you figure that out, she's just dead.
Yeah,
It
she's just
there's
dead.
there is no fight.
I think that like she's kind of pinwheel level for me, but I'm gonna put her in ass. Like to me, honestly, ass could be worse. But pinwheel is just uninspired, not much to say on him, and she's
I'm
kind of like that for me. I'm
God, I
gonna put
really
her
want to
there.
throw her in dog shit.
I'm gonna put her
I
there actually.
I think I am. I think I'm throwing her in dog shit.
All right,
The
let's.
pain of the run bag just to get to her and she looks cool and then the disappointment of the actual fight, it is a dog shit boss.
Hmm.
For me at least. Let's get some good ones out of the way.
Yeah, you've been a beacon of positivity for sure on these latest ones. I mean, I haven't disagreed, but who do you want to go for?
I'd say Gwyn. Gwyn S tier. The the run back is the worst part about this boss fight. If he had a super short run back, I think he'd be SS.
See, like
And
now I'm having trouble with no, that's it. I've decided that's how it should be. I don't know what I was thinking right there. Artorias tier is Artorias tier for a fucking reason. There's not a boss in this game besides him that is SS worthy. I would say
no,
Ornstein and Smo, top of S, bottom of S, whatever. Gwen, same sort of situation. I love Gwen more than Ornstein and Smo, O and S in my opinion. I loved. I've heard his soundtrack before, but then when I actually fought him, it banged even harder somehow. So I love that part. The run back, yes, the run back is tough, but I like the area you run in. It loses its
the
charm.
area is really
It
cool.
loses its charm when you run through it 20 times, but I do think that it still holds up in terms of like the actual backdrop and getting to it. And then the soundtrack itself, there's this piano kind of background. It's pretty soothing and kind of a fitting into the entire game, even though it's not as epic and grand. Reminds me of Elden's Beast phase. I loved his design. Everything, obviously, he's one of the most important lore-wise, if not the most important. The build-up to getting to him, everything about it delivers.
And the fight is matches it. Like
Yeah.
if I didn't parry, this guy would be extremely difficult.
He's a tough boss. He's got some of the biggest swinging hits and the most damage in the game.
Yep.
I think we talked about it before, where he's a lot like Artorias in his moveset. It's just a little more limited. He doesn't have nearly as much beastly maneuvers to him, but he also does more damage, so he trades it off.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't parryable, he might even be harder than Artorias at points, because I think he's a little bit harder to dodge, and you can get stuck in one or two hit combo that one-shots you.
Yep.
But I love this boss. I love his sword. I love the parrying is one of the most satisfying. I
Especially on the first hit.
like that's why I want to put him in Artorias tier because I fucking loved him, and I might. I just don't want to.
That's
put him, no.
fucking blasphemous.
I'm putting him in top of S. He's better than Ornstein Smo to me just because I like that one-on-one encounter. I just love the one-on-one encounter more. It was more special to me. The parrying is way more satisfying than just running around finding an opening on O and S. And when you open up that fight to win, you get the piano starting, and then you run up really quickly to get the parry on his leap. So orgasmic. I loved sort of standing there and just disrespecting him with the parrying dagger too. It all just felt so right. And it was finally like the entire game waiting to be able to use that weapon and just the daggers in general. It really built up to it and paid off for me.
Hmm.
Sanctuary Guardian. I would put this as
Mid.
like top of
B
A,
tier.
sort of like Great Wolf Sif, but a little bit more going on. Definitely more intense than Wolf Sif. He doesn't have as much importance and kind of heartstrings to him as Sif and all that, but I think the actual mechanics of the fight, like Sif beats him out on design, he beats him out on soundtrack and boss arena and lore and everything else. But Sanctuary Guardian as the actual mechanics of the fight, in my opinion, are a little bit better. Maybe more annoying at times because it's not as easy and clear and cutthroat. But I like that in this game that they finally brought out a challenge. He's got a few annoying bullshit mechanics where like he does the
It's
four hit
just like
combo.
his mechanics were not meant for this game.
They
And
aren't.
it's like
They aren't.
like you just don't have the tools to dodge all of his shit.
I like how wide the arena is. Gets you a lot to work with. He's got. He's one of those where when you first fight him, he's very fun and interesting. But then on repeats, it's like, oh my god, he's really lingering the lightning again. Wow, that move actually one-shot me. But
Look at this, another Havel,
yeah,
full Havel set with the shield.
I like that you can cut his tail off for the whip, even though I didn't ever use it. It's just a nice touch, and he's got enough kind of variability to his moveset to where it's not all the same every time, and it requires some pretty good skill and timing and management of the posture bar. So I like him for all that. He's got a few moves that upset me, like the 4-hit combo if you're up close that just kind of head bash stun you, and a
Does he
couple
get
that
caught in it? Oh, he just shields it.
yeah. So there's a couple of things that annoy me about the fight, but overall I enjoyed it. I really liked the breath of fresh air for actual difficult bosses themselves, not the runbacks, not the area to get to them. I
The
just
run
loved,
back was the best in the game.
yeah, it was the quickest. You just got right back into it. So I love a few of those aspects of the fight. And he's not enough to put in an S, like he's just not that level to me, but he is a really good, arguably better than Sif, A tier, A plus tier. Kind of like all these guys should be A plus. Like that's kind of where I'm leaning. Is just put him in A plus, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think I'm throwing him in B. One shot him. Moves were kind of annoying and they lingered and never really felt like I was agile enough to dodge any of them. And it kind of just annoyed me, but I still one shot him and he didn't really leave much of an impression.
Yeah, that would make sense. Centipede Demon. This is one where I completed, and I only watched a couple of videos, but most of the consensus was like he's a very bad boss. And it was one that surprisingly shocked me. And maybe it's because I one shot him or two shot him, whatever it was. But I would actually put him in like not ass. And I'm tempted to throw him above Four Kings. Because to me, he just, he like hit all the right notes except for the actual intensity of the boss fight. What was it? Centipede. What was that?
Demon.
Centipede Demon. Yeah, the Demon Ruins itself, that entire area is legendary. I love
Yep.
that, like, it's got that Halo 2 graphics, but like lava type feel. It just works really well in the game.
It
It's one of
the
the better
entire
areas.
area just feels so grand. It
Yeah,
has a grandiose feel to it. Like
it,
look at this area.
it feels
This
really.
arena is really cool.
Yeah, and the fact that like there's several ways to approach it. Like you can either get the ring and take them on in the lava, and basically the entire lava battle is your battlefield, or you can kind of like minimize yourself to this one little area right outside the spawn room where you kind of have to stay right away from the lava, and it's like this close knit corner, so you got to dodge everything. I like that there's several different ways that he can attack. Like if you cut off his arms, he can summon those to attack you, or his legs, whatever's all that.
Yeah, you cut off his arm, and then his arm turns into a living enemy and starts attacking you.
Yeah, he's got a pretty basic move set, and and he's a lot like Ceaseless Discharge, where he kind of just flings his long arms out at you, and you just punish those. But I didn't think it was like offensive, and I maybe it was because I was expecting so little that it shocked me a little bit. But I personally enjoyed it for what it was.
The I
It's not a
think
fight I'd go back and do, but
I think without the ring that makes you not take damage from lava, this fight is dog shit tier. But with the ring, it's B tier. So I'm gonna throw it in C.
look at all the area that he's able to move around and fight him. It's just like I like the design that they went for. It may not have been perfect, but they at least tried something different, and I like that. And it was just kind of different from all the other bosses, and not as ass as I figured it would
Yep.
be. So I'm gonna put
Dark Sun Gwendolyn, dog shit. Literally the most boring fucking fight imaginable. You're running down a long hallway, dodging Renala-esque projectiles and there's no tense moments, no nothing, and the build up to it after killing Guinevere uh and finding like the secret entrance, and then the letdown of this fucking dog shit mechanic boss,
Yeah, it was tough
actually unbelievable.
to like have kind of a build up for this boss and it just not pay off whatsoever. I think that this long endless hallway was a cool setup, but then the boss fight itself just fell so flat. Fell underneath hell into whatever abysmal place you could go further than bedrock. It just like everything. I'm really upset too that you one shot him and didn't have any of the magic come out. That was really troubling for me. But wow, of
It
course he's
seems
using,
like all the
of course he's using a shield.
bosses that I one shot.
Like, why? How is it that I used the shield and I still took damage? Anyways, it's the same thing. You just dodge one of 3 projectiles. You can hide behind them, shield them, roll them, whatever, and then you get up to them and hit them. It's just so unbelievably lame and fucking boring, time wasting. It's a pinwheel tier for me. It's that idea of wasting my time and not a lot to say about it. Didn't take too much to take him
I'd
on.
throw him below Seath. Below Seath the
Yeah, I
Scaleless.
guess I'd put him below too. Her below. All right. Black Dragon. Well, I guess we won't touch him because we didn't play him. But if I were to pick
Yeah.
him, I would probably put him in like a not S or A plus. I think. I didn't really ever fight him, but I have heard
Yeah,
good things about him.
I'd probably throw him in B tier.
Yeah, I mean he's.
It's supposed to be a good dragon fight for this game, but that carries a lot of caveats on its own, where there's not a lot of good fights in this game to begin with, and most of the dragon fights are pretty bad to begin with. So yes, it's a good dragon fight in this game, but that's not a high bar. That is a very low bar.
I think he has cool
His
attacks.
design is really cool.
Yeah, he's got a very perfect design, I think, and his attacks are very like I said, he's the Midir of this game, where he's the best dragon fight. I mean, it's not like there's a lot to compare it to, but he's a
Yeah.
pretty decent dragon fight for what it is in this game at least. And
The red dragon on the bridge. God, holy shit.
yeah, and he's just got a lot going for him. I personally would prefer to fight him, and I'd probably put him in A plus looking at this, but I just couldn't.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Couldn't be wasted to do it anymore. He's just got a lot here, and he's also got this Valstrax from Monster Hunter type scream, where it just shrieks your ears and it scares the shit out of you. And yeah, I mean, look at those attacks, pretty fascinating. So I would put him A plus if I played him. Didn't do it unfortunately, but I'll go ahead and put him up here actually. Why not? Without even playing him, I'll put him up above some of these. Without even having to play him.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna place him.
I am.
Ceaseless Discharge, another dog shit tier. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. I'm putting him
What a
in
shocker.
S.
I think rate above Pinwheel is a good place for this guy. Because he kind of is Pinwheel with the cheese strat, where you just literally one-shot him, but everything about the scenery in this area is better than Pinwheel. And the runback was honestly not that bad.
The best part about this boss is his design. He's this gargantuan, giant lava monster that you killed or you took his sister's clothes off and he got upset about it. And it is like so intimidating when you first walk up and you see like this 100-foot tall tower. It's like the fire giant size in terms of scale. And all of his moves feel that way too, where they will one-shot you and they just have this oomph and power to them. Unfortunately, the fight itself, very, very pathetic. It's just running back, hiding behind this if you want to do an honest kind of kills cheese strat. But the ultimate cheese is, of course, running back to the spawn and get him to lay his hand out. You hit it a couple times and it one-shots the boss. If there was more to it, I would love this fight. I think the area you fight him in, the design of the boss is epic, but the fight itself...
If they just made it to where it was doable to fight him head on, just like out in the open, but that laser beam attack, you literally cannot dodge it. You cannot.
Yeah, he's got a lot of unavoidable, crazy hitboxes that are hard to like be consistent in dodging. So, I'd put him. I wouldn't put him alt F4. He didn't make me rage, especially after I cheesed him. But he's pinwheel tier in a way. But I think I'll put him a little bit above because he's got at least a cooler design and a little bit more going for him than these. All right. There's some pretty good ones
Taurus.
here. Taurus, I thought was a good second boss. I thought it was like, it's sort of like Iron Golem to me, where A plus is high. I get that, but I liked him. I like that he wasn't overly difficult. He had a bit of challenge, and I one of
I
the
don't understand how you're throwing this guy an A+ when he had 3 moves and they all look the exact same.
I guess you're right. Like I'm being, it's just the experience was A plus. Just like Iron Golem, he's not a lot going on for him, but the experience was pretty good. I'll put him at the top of not ass because I just love like it's iconic the bridge you fight on, the ways that you can fight him. You can either shove him off the bridge, you can draw him up to the top where you have kind of this little closet gauntlet fight up at the top, and you can't really heal, or you pretty much have to play perfect at a certain in a certain way, and that's how I did it. He's got some decent health. He's got good damage as well, so he'll send you to the grave. I died.
Another shield.
I'm pretty sure I beat him sub 10, but I didn't beat him first 3 tries, and yeah, it wasn't the worst. And I thought as an early game boss, it served its purpose. And also, I love the tie-in to Demon Ruins, where like this is a boss right now, but then you go to Demon Ruins, and he's just like a one of 50 enemies there, sort of like Beastman of Faramazla. I thought that was really cool how they did that.
Yep. But and the design is pretty cool in my opinion. I like the half beast with the skull head
Oh yeah.
type
Thank you
look.
for pointing that out. So you know how much of the series and specifically this game is drawn from Berserk. He is supposed to be. Why am I blanking on his name? People know what I'm talking about. God, who's the guy in Berserk? Who is Taurus Demon from Berserk? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. He's supposed to be that.
Literally everybody knows what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he's supposed to be that guy that Berserk faces all the time. That I'm looking it up. You keep going. Holy shit, I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw this guy in a solid C tier because this guy is kind of like Asylum Demon, just in a infinitely worse arena. He has 3 moves. Yes, the design is cool. 3 moves. The fight is uninteresting. The fight is not challenging, and it just makes it all the more annoying that you're on this tiny ass one-way fucking bridge.
Zod.
So he's a C tier,
It's supposed to
and
be
good
Zod.
timing.
He's supposed to be designed off Zod, which like now as I see it, it's exactly like him. So I love his design, especially lore-wise, how it's supposed to tie into Berserk.
Oh, you love it now that it's from Berserk.
Yeah, again, I've got personal preferences that make no sense, and that's one of them. But I fucking love that idea that he's kind of like that. And there's this strat where you can jump down, do damage. You can bring him
Oh,
up
you
there
can
if you
do
want.
that?
Yeah, you can bring him up there if you want. And so I just love there's like 3 ways to fight him, or 4 really. There's cheesing him on the bridge to knock him off, fighting him on the bridge, trying to take him on like a man. You can do the jump down damage over and over again, or you can bring him up there with you to that little tower and fight him. So there's several ways to fight him. He's not overly challenging as an early game boss, but he provides just the right amount of difficulty. His design is based off of Zod, and so I really like him a lot. I would probably put him up here, honestly.
You're actually fucking capping with that one. C tier it is for me because that's the correct opinion.
I'll keep him here. All right.
3 fucking moves, man, and you're throwing him an A+. On that arena too, the fucking one-way bridge that you can't even roll past him on.
And why is not better Chaos right? I would
Chaos Witch.
She is Alt
A+.
F4. She's Alt F4 for me. I
Oh
know.
my
I
fucking
know.
God, man.
Everyone is gonna be like, what? But the cutscene, but her boobs, but her tits, like a peak fiction, like dude, her sword attack, the way it does all those animations. I don't give a fuck. Okay, this was an Alt F4 moment for me. I spent 2.5 hours on this bitch, and I had to do the run back through Blighttown over and over. I had to throw on music at one point after like 2 hours into it because I was actually like tearing up. I was tearing up at this game, thinking like, I dodged family. I'm wasting my Saturday doing this, fighting this. And yes, the first time you fight her, like the whole cutscene, her being half naked on this beast, it's a very unique sort of presentation. But the music, the arena, her attacks, all pretty lame. Like, they've got more going on for them than a lot of the base game bosses. I'll give her that she's got a little bit more going on than a lot of these. But as an experience, really struggled against her because I was using the daggers that did no damage. So it was a lot of whacking at her left side and just kind of staying there, hoping and praying that she doesn't do the one-shot move. And then there was times when like I got greedy and I didn't have enough space or stamina to get away, and she'd one-shot me. And then
I mean, can we pause here? Is a shield required in this game? Is that it?
It's a
Is a shield just fucking required in this
It's
game?
a prerequisite. I think her attacks, for the most part, look fancy. I like the way that her sword swings and that kind of like lingering effect to it. I like that the spider spits out areas all over the map, but the actual function of it is dog shit. And there's a reason.
It's really not.
There's a reason why I took her weapon as my weapon for the game, to prove that this was my breaking moment, that this was the obstacle I had to overcome. She was the final wall for me before like the game started getting less terrible, where like that was the final moment of me potentially stopping the game and uninstalling. So like she was the final Alt F4 before like I got through everything and I was able to just push on. And so she's put it they actually put a clown on her head. So it was just like one of those where I know most people are probably going to put her A+ as one of the better base game bosses, but I truly almost gave up using the daggers on her, doing no damage, sitting there for 6 minutes, hitting her left side, running around, dodging the flames, getting staggered by the lava, and then potentially getting one shot over and over again because of my lack of patience. I was over it. Fuck you, but
yeah,
also fuck you.
that's just a fucking dog shit opinion. Anyway, Capra Demon, I'm about to throw out another dog shit opinion. I think he's A+. The room is claustrophobic, but that kind of adds to the boss fight. I'm not gonna lie. And the dogs, you can literally just run up the stairs, insta-kill the dogs, and then jump down, and it's basically like the fight just started. And then once you actually get to him, where you start fighting him and you're one-on-one and this is super enclosed space, it feels really good. In this game, I'm not gonna lie. His attacks were somewhat varied. Each one has kind of a different timing, but you could still tell when it was coming out. So it wasn't insanely difficult, and I never got my view blocked by like running into a wall or anything. I enjoyed a good amount of this fight. I know you're gonna have separate opinions about this, especially the run back. But honestly,
Pause right here.
literally all you have to do is kill this one dog that body blocks you right here, and you're home free.
Pause.
That's it. That is literally it.
Right here. Pause right here. I'm going to go out on a crazy limb here.
God, I mean,
I am a
what is that?
psycho! I am a masochist fuck! Okay? I want everyone to hear me. This
my God.
This boss, objectively, right? Objectively.
He's lost his fucking mind.
I have. This boss, objectively, is ass. It deserves no better than ass. And I understand that.
No, I think it deserves
But
A+.
I'm going to have a video come out of me facing this guy for 3 hours, 3.5. And it's going to be titled The Masochist Stream. Alright? I cannot get over that experience. If Dark Souls 1 had any lowest lows moments, it was this one. And it was like just like every other low in all the other Soulsborne games, where Lone Shadow Long Dick Swordsman and Sekiro, when I was tucked away in the closet fighting him for like 3 hours, getting my head bent over by a knee kick. It was Elden Ring's Erdtree Avatar, but not really as much so as that. It was like all of those unbelievably like high emotion moments over long periods of time that like really sat with me. He could have been a one-shot, I go up, kill the dogs, get lucky on a little bit of moves, and beat him one try and put him in like a pinwheel or like just a decent boss. But he was a boss that somehow took me 3 fucking hours. And it wasn't the boss itself. I wish I had the video to show you. It was me dying. I'm dead ass. On God, for real, no cap. 100+ times, maybe even 200 times dying on the run back. And you know the run back I'm talking about.
And the crazy thing is, you died almost every single time in this one corridor.
Yeah.
And every single time I attempted this boss, all I did was kill the one dog right here, and then I just walked in.
It could not have been a worse night of planning, execution, gameplay from me. If you were watching, I would unsubscribe. I would report me to the police for the embarrassment that was. Literally, like, where do I begin? The run back. I kept taking this route where you see through this little corridor, and not any shortage was there of enemies. There was the dogs, right? I was using a dagger that couldn't touch them, but they could touch me, so I kept getting pissed off by that. And I had to go through them. Then if I managed to get through them, come down this little corridor, I call it phase 1 and phase 2. When I got to phase 2 of the run back, I had all the little shack boys and these little thief assassins come out of their little townhouses, and they'd fucking knife me in the back. And I'd have to deal with that. And then you get to phase 3, the ultimate phase of this entire boss fight, not even inside the fog wall. And it's this corridor right here where this guy is positioned. And normally there's 2 dogs pitched right up right there, and they both kind of magically get right in front of you when you cross this point. And without
all you got to
fail,
do is hit R1.
Without fail,
3.5 hours, and he still didn't learn that all he had to do is hit R1.
Without fail, I would get staggered and die no matter which way I took. It was like the point of delirious laughter at 2, 3 in the morning where I was just accepting my fate. Like, LOL, guess it's going to happen. We'll try next time on the run back. Oh, phase 1, run back 2. It was like a game to get to this boss. And it was like Ludwig phase 2 where it took me probably 5% of the actual deaths just to get to the boss. Or 95% of my deaths weren't even at the boss level. It was on the run back. And then when I actually get in the boss,
you literally sat in the perfect place in the cheese way to get hit and knocked down by, like, every single time without fail. You just did the same shit over and over and over again and changed nothing.
Idiocy,
and you did it for 3.5 hours.
What I love about Capper Demon is the iconicness. That is the word for this boss. This was like a standout boss for me, just like Artorias
he is
and Gwyn,
iconic.
where like the reason why I'm putting him in Artorias tier is not because of the blessing of the experience it was, but because of how memorable it was. And I want to put it there as a masochist myself because he brought out so much emotion in me, whether it was good or bad, that made him stand out. Between the run back and then when you actually get in there, it's like you get in there and it's the tiniest fucking boss room of all time ever made. It is like this little fucking alleyway meant to gangbang you, and the moment you step in, you're screwed. And then you have the dogs you gotta deal with. And the dogs are like, it's just everything about this fight. And then I don't know why it's not showing I guess it's because I didn't click on the actual. But yeah, here it is. So it's like, you immediately get in, and the boss is just ripping you a new one. And if you don't know the strategy to get up on the stairs to kill the dogs and stand in the spot, I can understand why this boss can be unfortunate.
It's not even like something you have to know. I literally did it first run. I ran up these stairs and I got in this cheese track, killed the dogs.
You just saw the problem, right? It's like I had to upgrade to the spear at that point, right? Because I had to kill the fucking dogs. But then you get up here and you just bang your goddamn weapon against the concrete. I remember that happening all the time. And then somehow the dogs hit you, but you don't hit them. Somehow Capper Demon will jump over and hit you. There's just like so many unlucky moments in this entire night of runs against Capper Demon that stood out. And then like you have the music turn up where it's like, oh, oh, oh. And I love that part.
The music was pretty good in this
yeah,
boss.
The music was good. The boss for this early felt like Taurus, but a little bit more heavy on the movesets and a little more fair with his swings. So he just was a better version, and mechanically I enjoyed it. So like, as an objective boss, just looking at the boss, I'd probably put him as like a not ass or A. But the run back, I mean, if you're anyone but me, you've got to be something below this tier. There's like some special place in hell for this guy. But the masochist in me wants to put him up.
God, you're actually fucking insane for putting that guy as
I am, and I can't wait for everyone to comment. And then when everyone comments, I want you in a couple of weeks when I finally edit that video to go watch it. And you're going to see my pain, but also how the sheer will of my mind and my body.
It did push you to your limits. That's Miyazaki's whole point of these games, is to push you to your limits.
It gave
and
me the euphoria.
It did that for you.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean, that is kind of cap to put him up here, like putting him above Gwen and Ornstein. Like, that is unbelievable cap. But I feel like I just have to.
You finally see it.
I feel like I have to, like, just for because Artorias deserves alone. I'm going to put him at the bottom of S. That's actually where I should have put him. Yeah, I love that positioning. He's bottom of S, because his experience brings him all the way up here. His boss fight itself is probably middle of the pack, and then the run back and the actual misery should be down here. I love it up here, right below actual good bosses. We'll put him there. Moving on. Let's do Manus. We don't want a crescendo yet.
Dude, if Manus was in any other game that didn't have the clunkiest movement, clunkiest fucking combat, clunkiest healing, clunkiest fucking everything, Manus would be an SS tier boss. I love everything about this boss except for how the grab, literally you can't dodge. I'm sure this guy is going to fucking use a shield and just block the grab or some dumb shit, but oh, he's using the exact weapon that I'd used.
I love the concept of Manus. I love the concept and everything
He
about
just
it.
does not belong in this fucking game,
Like,
man.
putting someone kind of circling back to this whole Abyss concept and having this one beast that sucked you into the DLC at the start and having it be the final boss and the hardest boss at that, it's so fitting. I love that. And the boss itself, it's got this like Bloodborne design to it, where it's this giant flinging arm beast.
His design is fucking amazing. I love it.
But
I never even got to see that.
yeah,
fucking move.
that's the part where I'm talking about, where he just starts flinging projectiles that can one-shot you. But a couple of problems I have with the fight. One, where's the fucking let-up, my guy? Where's the let-up? Give me a brief period of heal. God damn it.
It wouldn't be that bad if the healing animation didn't take 30 years.
And also, like, I love your design, and I love that we're fighting in this dark pit, but I can't see shit! I can't see what's going on! And then the third crutch that really just takes the winds out of your sails is the grab. And whatever it is. This move.
This.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, it
perfect
does
timing.
half of his health. Half of his fucking health. Is
Perfect
he wearing
timing.
Havel's armor or some shit?
That move, easily, it's like so unblockable if you're anywhere in its range, and then it just kind of picks you up and takes you for 60%. And then he normally follows up with like a jump attack, so you can't really get a heal off. But it's like that move that's so inconsistently dodged, and the fact that you can't see a lot. I think his music was lackluster, if there was any. I don't remember.
I don't even
But
remember.
as like a final boss, as like a final obstacle, he fits the bill. He is goddamn impossible for this game. He is a Dark Souls 3 boss put in Dark Souls 1 mechanics, and
God, if this guy was in Dark Souls 3, he would really just be SS.
I don't know about SS. Like, he'd be really
No,
good.
no, he would.
He'd
For
be really
me,
good.
he SS.
Like, to me, because I haven't beaten him, I spent a good 20, 30 attempts, 45 minutes on him, maybe an hour. I'm going to put him below these guys just because he hasn't had enough to put him up above them. But as you say, if it's Dark Souls 3, if there's a few more tweaks to it, if we're a little bit more OP, a little quicker, he could be an S or Artorias level boss. Because he does deliver on the difficulty and the design and a lot of it. It's just a few
Everything
big
about him is
problems.
amazing, except for the game that he's in. The game fucking blows. So he's an S, but any other game SS. Next,
Guts, my boy.
last but not least.
One of the only mangas I've ever read, Berserk.
Holy fuck, dude. I was so afraid that just treading through all of the dog shit of this game, I was so scared that I would get to Artorias and I would just feel inept against him and it would just be frustrating, but it wasn't. It just felt good to play. All around, everything about it.
Yeah, I love Artorias to me, and I'll say it in my Soulsborne boss tier list, is the... Who am I thinking of? Gale. Is the Slave Knight Gale of this game. And the Slave Knight Gale of the Soulsborne series. He is that high up for me. Personally, he might be, I'll have to think about it, my favorite lore-wise character. I love the actual background and history to him. The build-up to him. The inspiration from Berserk and treating him as Guts. The way that his cutscene is like the best in the entire game. The way that he's got this broken arm. He lands on this fucking thing with his massive greatsword and then flings it at you. And he's got this...
Imagine this guy with 2 working arms.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stand a chance.
He's just... Everything about him screams Berserk, screams Guts, screams Dark Souls and as
You
a
love
series.
that fucking
And so,
comic book.
like, he's got, like, my favorite lore and just everything about it. Design-wise, I love him, too. He's got this broken arm that's just kind of dangling, but he's able to one-hand an entire
And he
greatsword.
chucks the dead body
Chucks the
at
dead
you.
body. I love the arena.
So good.
The arena's epic as well. I think it could have done.
It's
better.
actually just like Coliseum. I don't know. I like it. It's
I mean,
Coliseum, and it's just a 1v1, and it just exemplifies what this fight is. It is a battle to the death, 1v1 style, and
to me, it's
yes.
like tier list rating. It's lore, background, build up, history, all that. SS plus, like broken tier, my favorite of all time in my opinion, probably. The arena, S tier. It's not God tier, but it's still really good and one of the best. I think they could have made it darker or like more abyss, like something to really fit the mood. Music, also S tier. I think it was good OST, a good soundtrack, but it could have been a little more memorable. And then everything else, the move set, it's one of those where like you expect it to be kind of basic. Like maybe he's got a little bit of Gwen's move set, maybe he's got some sort of like Capra Demon or other mix, but no, he's his own man. He's got all the guts moves with the front flips like this. He can pancake you triple, quadruple, or double, triple times. He's got the one that we saw at the very beginning where he like launches at you like Sister Freed. He swings his sword around wildly. He's got the double swing attack that'll catch you. He's got the bitch sand get off me move. He's got the other get off me move. So you can't really play behind him or like expect to punish him over and over. That move. And then like he truly is a challenge where if I didn't have a max level Quelaag boss weapon, he wouldn't have taken us 2 hours. He would have taken us 6. May not have been doable. Because there's a certain level when he does this enhanced phase. When he does this, if you don't have a powerful enough weapon to stop it, the damage that comes from it is just, it's game breaking. You're not gonna
you're not going to see it here because this guy's actually a pussy, but he was actually, if he hit you with that charge attack while it was powered up, it was 100-0. No question.
Yeah. And if you don't have the means or the weapon, the armor to withstand that and stop it, it's pretty much just a chalked moment. You can fight him if you want, but you might as well go back to the bonfire. And I love that. I love that like everything about his design and the way that he moves, the way he fights, the way that the arena is, it's all purposeful. It's not like a single wasted misstep in this boss fight. Everything feels right. And he feels so great to fight. He feels like you're fighting a Dark Souls 3 boss, and the mechanics of Dark Souls 1 aren't holding you back. Because the reactions, his timing on the moves, it all just kind of flows really well. And the timing of your Dark Souls 1 move and healing and everything. And yeah, I mean, you just get in that rhythm. And like, truly, he is my favorite boss in this game. He is the Ludwig of Bloodborne.
By a long shot.
By a long shot.
It is not even close.
I think Gwen kind of does a good purpose. Like, he's got the parry aspect and also...
I mean, if we were doing all Soulsborne bosses right now, Gwen would probably be A+ for me, and Artorias would still be SS. Still.
I would agree with the SS on Artorias. I think Gwen would probably be S. I don't know. I don't... There's too much I could say about this boss, but... I'm so glad that he lived up to the hype, and he is Artorias tier for a reason. He's SS for me in this game. Easily the best.
I am so... I want to reiterate what you just said. I am so glad that he was not a letdown. I was so scared of that. And the best part about it is that there is not a single bullshit move where you're just like, what? How do you dodge that? How do you do this? And he was still really, really difficult. One of the most difficult bosses in this game, but probably the most fair in the game as well.
Yeah.
And the rhythm to it felt so good, especially using a greatsword where you get one hit off dodge. He swings, you get a hit off dodge. He swings, you get a hit off dodge. And it's, yes, it sounds repetitive, but God, it feels so fucking good.
The only thing that I could say is less than S about this fight is the run back. And even then, it's not the worst in the game.
It's really not. It's not that
like,
bad.
It takes maybe 60 seconds. It's a little bit long, but it's not like it's impossible to get to the boss and you always drain flask getting there. It's just like not as flawless as like a Sanctuary Guardian or something.
And the boss fight isn't like a 10-second sprint. It is sort of an endurance. At least when we faced him, it was sort of an endurance battle where when you got to the boss after running for 60 seconds, you got to fight the boss for 60 seconds. It wasn't over in 5 seconds to where
it was
another 60 seconds.
You could make this fight 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or you can make it 10 seconds if you play bad, if you make a couple of missteps. And I just, and the clinking, the heaviness to the sword attacks, like, as I said,
the heft. The heft was
everything about this fight was perfect. and like almost every element was SS. There was a few S moments, but there was also like a few SS plus aspects. And so I fucking adore this boss. I could not say enough good praises. It is easily the best boss. I'm so fucking glad that we actually played the game through all the way just to get to him and the DLC and Gwen and finish the game.
Yep.
There was parts that made me want to quit and give up, but I knew in the back of my mind I had to do this, and I'm so glad I did. So overall,
I'm glad we ended it on a positive note when this tier list was full of just
Less
straight
positive.
ass.
Yeah, it was 90% of this game was indescribable misery, but 10% of it really did its job and served its purpose. You know, Anne Orlando, Sen's Fortress, the DLC, the ending.
And we played with the bonfire mod too, where you could warp between bonfires, and it was still miserable. If we played this game with none of that shit on and just the normal base Dark Souls, I wouldn't have played. I would have quit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
Because I would have gotten to some boss and I would have been like, shit, I have to upgrade. And then you can't teleport. You have to run all the way the fuck back there. And I would have just quit right there.
Yeah, and if you didn't have guides, if you didn't know what you were doing either, imagine like trying to figure out everything. It'd be impossible. But man, I would say like really up until this final day, like it was honestly an F tier experience. There was moments that didn't make it F that maybe want to put it in D, but the final day was consistently good enough between the DLC and some of the later bosses that we were able to like overcome pretty easily to where I'd put it a little higher. I still think it's D tier, but definitely highlights being Artorias, Gwen, a few other small names, but I am so fucking glad it's over also.
Yeah, dude.